Let's go over recrystallization. This is a method to purify solids. So here we have a solid residue from an organic reaction, and we're going to purify it by recrystallization. The idea is that the mixture is mostly one compound, the one of interest, but there might be some impurities. So we're going to dissolve it in the minimal amount of the hottest possible solvent. And in this case we'll be using water, but you can use other solvents. So I have water boiling, that's as hot as it's going to be, and I want to fully dissolve my solid in as little of that as possible. Then I'm going to let it cool very slowly. The idea being that as the solvent cools, the solute, or the organic compound, becomes less soluble and will start to form crystals. If that happens slowly, the crystals grow in a pure form and provide a surface for more crystals to grow, one on top of the other. The impure compounds, or the compounds we do not want, are less abundant and do not form those crystals that are growing slowly in high quality form. Okay, so the impurities are left behind, and the pure compound crystallizes, which then we collect by filtration. So let's see it in action. Like I said, we want our solvent to be as hot as possible, and that is boiling. Now you never want to burn yourself, so you want to be very cautious. I can do this okay, but here's a trick. I folded some paper towel, like so, and what I can do is I can reach that around the beaker, pinch it tightly, that allows me to pour really nicely and grab onto the beaker. Okay, so I'm just going to be really cautious, pour a little bit on, and that's hardly enough to do anything. Okay, so this is an art. Little by little, I'm going to add hot solvent, and it's a bit of a dance between pouring in the hot solvent and taking a look. Now, I see the solvent inside the beaker, and of course there's lots of solid left. So I'm going to put this flask right on the hot plate and bring it up to boiling and see if that's enough to dissolve. And of course it's not, I haven't added nearly enough. So I add a little bit more, swirl it around, put this guy right on the hot plate. If my mixture here is boiling and I still have solid, that's a sign that I need to add more of my hot solvent. Okay. Like I said, it's a bit of an art. You don't want to be measuring hot solvent, but you want to go little by little so you don't add way too much. If you have too much hot solvent, as it cools, some of the organic compound will just still remain in solution and you'll lose it as you filter. So I'm going to tip that beaker, try to knock down the solid on the sides. I'm getting closer. I have some residue up here. I'm close to the saturation point where I see some solid right at the surface, and that the surface is the coolest part. So I think I need to add a little bit more so that I'm going to be able to get this all dissolved. Now once the solid is fully dissolved, and if you're looking through it, looks see-through, no solid. So see-through, no solid. There's a teeniest bit of residue that I'm unable to get off by swirling. I don't want to add too much more hot solvent to overdo it. So what we do at this point, when we've given it our very best shot to get all the solid dissolved down here and off the sides, we simply remove it from the hot plate. Okay. We can turn that off, we're done with that now. And we let it rest. Slow cooling is the best. So in a couple of minutes, I will show you what has occurred after some slow cooling. This solution has been cooling just at room temperature for a couple of minutes. I wanted to show you what's happening. So on the surface, which is the coldest part, I'm getting a sheen of crystals. Okay, so what I want to do is continue cooling this until I can touch that comfortably, and it's still quite hot. This is a really nice recrystallization where as my solution has cooled and crystals start to form, the crystallization is very quick. So can you see those snow-like crystals that are forming in the beaker? Sometimes if you swirl this gently, the crystals just pop and form one under the other very quickly. So if you're ever having trouble seeing crystals, sometimes you can agitate it a little bit, or even take your glass stirring rod and do what's called scratching, which is to rub the side of the vessel. So after cooling to room temperature slowly, you can see there's lots of crystals in the beaker. So now to make sure we get the maximum amount of crystallizations, we're going to put this directly in an ice water slush bath until it's nice and icy cold. Alright, and then we'll collect those crystals by vacuum filtration. You can rinse with cold solvent that you've used, as cold as possible, so I want to chill some water in this case to help me transfer those crystals over. But in a nutshell, that's recrystallization.